Welcome to Narcissist Apocalypse, everyone. I am Brandon Chadwick, and today we'll be doing a follow-up, a debrief on Val's story. And for those of you who have not listened to Val's story yet, here's a little bit of context for you. Val grew up already recognizing dysfunction in her mother, especially the feeling that someone else's mood could take over the whole family system. And when Val met her future husband, it didn't begin with love bombing. They were friends first. It felt natural. And over time, this relationship got more serious. They started dating. They got married. And then this relationship started to shift. The abuser in Val's life used withdrawal, silent treatments, mood changes, and just emotional punishment. And he made her accomplishments about him. He was always undercutting her. He ruined birthdays and important events. And along the way, Val started to notice these things as a pattern. She started to actually write these things down. She understood the pattern that was in front of her. She had the cycles down to, I think it was like 6 weeks, how these cycles work. She showed them to her abuser. He agreed that he could see these cycles too, and that there could be change, but the change never actually occurred. It just kept things going because the change just never happened. There was promises of this change. And Val was living in this environment for so long that eventually she just got exhausted. And that exhaustion turned into her being a little bit less functional than she was before. And once that started happening, she had to really look at what really was causing all of this. And she went to a therapist. It was called Abuse Out Loud. And from then on, Val then started to listen to podcasts, read books, saw that everything was really fitting a pattern, a textbook pattern from what she was reading. And it took a long time, but eventually Val did leave this relationship and stayed away, far away, so she wouldn't go back because she knew the trauma bond to this person was really huge. So that is the context for Val's story. And today we're not going to be going into the fear, obligation, and guilt of Val's story because, as Val mentioned, the trauma bond was really the biggest thing that was keeping her there. So we're going to just go into the key themes and takeaways. And trauma bonding is the biggest reason why Val stayed so long, and it's going to be our key theme number one. So with this, Val described this relationship starting off as a friendship. It felt natural. There was history. She loved him, and there were good stretches. And this relationship had been her whole life. She was attached to him and was just doing her best to figure out how to make it work. And when I asked her about the fear, obligation, and guilt, what was the strongest thing that kept her there, she didn't say fear. She didn't say obligation. She didn't say guilt. Her response was this attachment, this bond. And she even says she needed distance from him at the end. So she wrote him a letter, went to Greece, and this was done for her to be able to stay away and prevent her from going back. And that's how strong this bond was in this relationship. And then we have our key takeaway number two: silent treatments, withdrawal, and tending to his moods, the abuser's moods, that kept Val focused on him. And this is just a big, big theme for Val, how much energy went into figuring him out. And the silent treatments here were just a real big act of control. So when someone withdraws or goes cold, stops communicating, or shifts their mood without any explanation, the other person is left trying to solve a mystery. Like, what happened here? Was this me? Did I say something? Is my partner depressed? Are they stressed? Is this about their work? Is this about our kids? Is this about our relationship? Should I ask? Should I leave them alone? Should I make things easier? Should I smooth things over? All of those different thoughts, that's a lot of attention. And that attention keeps the survivor focused on the abuser. And Val was constantly trying to read the room. She was trying to understand the withdrawal. She was trying to name the cycles that were going on, figuring out that these cycles even exist. She was She was trying to figure out whether it was his depression, his anxiety, work stress. dissociation or something else. And this is exhausting because the center of this relationship at this point becomes his mood, his silence, his tension, or his next shift in mood. So this is how withdrawal can control someone without any direct commands at all. The survivor here, the abuse victim, Val, is just organizing her life around the uncertainty that is going on, that these silent treatments are causing, that these withdrawals are causing, which these mood shifts are causing. So an abuse victim here can really spend years trying to understand the abuser while slowly losing contact with what the abuse is actually doing to them, which can keep you in a relationship much longer. And then next on our list, we have intermittent reinforcement that kept this relationship alive. So this is when kindness or warmth or attention or relief becomes unpredictable. It does not happen consistent enough for you to feel safe, but it happens enough to keep hope alive. And Val's story has a lot of that. He could be withdrawn, then he could be normal. He could be distant, then suddenly offering a hug or a coffee when he sensed her pulling away. He could go into a cycle and then come out of a cycle as if nothing happened. He could make a promise, sound like he had insight, and then fail to follow through. That was a big thing in this story. He could have stretches where things seemed better, and then the pattern eventually would return. The cycle would return. So this kind of inconsistency can be more controlling in a very training way, very Pavlov's dog way. So the survivor here is not only responding to the harm, they are responding to the possibility of repair. So good moments, improved stretches, apologies, promises to change, these things become evidence as if they're going to change, that repair might happen. And the survivor here, like Val, keeps thinking maybe this is the version of them that will stay. But in Val's story, this abuser could be good for a while, sometimes even for a year, and then things would devolve again. And, that's a long time to be given hope. That's a big stretch of time to make you think that things have changed. And this is how intermittent reinforcement keeps someone in these relationships longer. It gives them enough hope, and hope inside an abusive relationship cycle can really become a huge detriment and keep you in this relationship much longer. And number 4 is a key takeaway here is figuring out cycles of abuse is huge. It's big, but awareness can really only take you so far. And this was a big part for Val when she figured out these cycles. She thought things were going to really change after that. She began tracking. She saw the patterns. She noticed the buildup, the tension, the outburst, the withdrawal, and the way it seemed to really happen on a perfect schedule. And then she even brought all of this to the abuser and tried to show him what was happening. So this kind of awareness right here is huge for Val. It can help them stop blaming themselves. It can help them make a plan. But awareness does not make an abusive person accountable. Awareness alone can't save the relationship as long as the abuser doesn't want to take any sort of responsibility. And for Val, that was never going to happen. So awareness can really help the survivor understand what is happening. It can help them leave, but awareness does not make an abusive person accountable. And then the next thing on our list, which was a big one that kept her in this relationship longer, was broken promises kept resetting the hope. So broken promises, Val's abuser would say that he was going to change. He would say, oh, the problem is work, or then maybe it was depression, then maybe it was anxiety. Then he would say he would get help. Then he would not follow through, or he would follow through just enough to calm that moment down. So the story really kept changing here, but the pattern here really stayed the same, which was just a lot of broken promises in this abusive relationship. And when you get these broken promises, what happens is, it's just resetting the clock. It's resetting the cycle of abuse. A promise creates a new waiting period. And when someone repeatedly promises change but does not sustain change, the promise itself becomes part of the cycle, and that will keep you stuck. And then the last key takeaway we have on our list here is punishing joy was a form of control for this abuser. And for Val, joy was not safe. Her accomplishments, birthdays, graduation, holidays, none of these things were safe. So when someone repeatedly ruins your important moments, they are teaching you not to expect care or take up too much space. And over time, this does something to a person. You stop looking forward to things in the same way. You brace before milestones. You lower your expectations. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. You celebrate less loudly. You need less. You ask for less. And you become grateful for scraps. And this is how punishing joy can become control, because the abuser does not need to forbid your happiness. They just need to make happiness feel unsafe enough that you begin shrinking it yourself. So those are key takeaways and themes for this episode. And the things that I want for Val going forward, I want Val to keep just trusting the clarity that she fought so hard to reach. Val had to work hard to understand what happened to her. She had to live through this confusion, the cycles, the broken promises, the withdrawal, the punishments, the exhaustion, and the shock of finally seeing the pattern. And I want her to just keep trusting that clarity that she got when she did see that pattern. And number 2 on our list here of things that I want for her is I want Val to have joy that does not come with punishment attached to it. So much of this story is about joy being undercut. Birthdays, graduation, travel, retirement, accomplishments, moments that should have just been celebrated and that she should have been proud of. So I want Val to have joy that belongs to her now. I want joy to become safe again. And the next one on the list, I want Val to have relationships where support is not something she has to beg for. So Val carried so much in this relationship and didn't get any support in return. So I want her to experience relationships where support is normal, where someone asks, "How can I help?" and they actually mean it, where nothing needs to be negotiated, where people show up without needing to be chased or managed or convinced. That's a big thing for Val, to not have to beg for support in the future, that she should just get support when she needs it. And the next one on our list here is that I want for Val is that I want her nervous system to learn that calm is not the calm before the storm. So when you've lived inside of these cycles, peace can feel really weird. She's been constantly having to monitor the room. And this kind of healing takes time, but I want her to have it. I want her body to learn that she does not have to scan the room anymore when she is in it. Another thing that I want for Val is for her to have a repair with her children, but not at the cost of abandoning herself. So the aftermath with Val's children is very painful for her, and I want healing there. And I want her to have honest conversations with her kids and repair to actually occur. But during this process, I want her children to be able to do this processing without pulling Val into these old family distortions. I want Val to really stay rooted in herself. Repair should not require her to accept blame that doesn't belong to her. Repair with her kids should not require her to pretend the abuse did not happen. And repair should not require her to become the emotional container for everyone else's discomfort again. So I want her to have relationships with her children that can hold the truth, but just not be the peacekeeper or pull Val into abandoning herself once again. And the last thing on the list here for Val that I want is that she should recognize that leaving this cycle is a huge accomplishment. She was undercut her whole entire life on her accomplishments. And within this relationship, this person on birthdays and holidays, everything, schooling, undercut her. So this is a big accomplishment for her leaving here, and she needs to celebrate it. And I hope everyone celebrates it with her. And I just want Val to know that everyone here is proud of her. So that is it for the things that I want for Val. And I want, if you're going through similar situations, I want these things for you as well. And I hope you found this episode helpful or educational or insightful in some ways. And if you want to be a guest on our Survivor Story episodes, please do go to our website at narcissistapocalypse.com. Click on the guest form button, fill out the form, and press the submit button. We also have a support group at our website, and you can join our support group at narcissistapocalypse.com. And we have a newsletter with a free workbook for every new Survivor Story. And as a weekly newsletter, you can sign up at narcissistapocalypse.com. And that is it for this debrief episode of Val's story. So for myself and Val, we hope you have a good night.